Welcome to week 2 of the Adobe Photoshop in the Classroom webinar. I'm really impressed with everyone's work. There are a few questions in the question box that I've been answering, but I thought I would answer verbally for the sake of the recording. And I'll just start at the very beginning. If you want to catch up, the whole idea of homework with this, because it is just a free short course, if you don't complete your homework, to get the certificate you just complete a test at the end, which is not to say those of you who are completing your homework are going to be disadvantaged, because those of you who are doing their week-to-week work will get participation certificates just as it is. So anyone who wants to catch up, that's completely fine. Somebody has put a question that's saying that they're having difficulty viewing the file format of the WMV files. So I'm going to convert them to MP4s. I might convert all of them to MP4s and see how that goes. But if you have any issues with MP4s, let me know and I can convert them to both. So, sorry, just testing, can everyone hear me? Yep, so at the end, for those of you who participate, there is a certificate. And if you have missed last session, remember to go to learn.itmasters.edu.au, where you can log in and view last week's webinar, and also some tutorial videos and some information on how to study this short course. So again, this is based on a subject from Charles State University, Adobe Digital Curriculum 2. The disclaimer that it covers only Photoshop, while that subject covers Photoshop, Illustrator, Acrobat and InDesign, is actually particularly relevant here, because for those of you who've been onto the Learn site, sorry, somebody asked, is it possible to use a bigger cursor? I don't think so. Oops, sorry. So I'll just show you, here's the Learn site. Oops. You can see here the files that you can download, the Adobe Digital Curriculum, and if you look through those, some of them reference Illustrator files, which I'll upload for you, but it's not necessary for you to complete them. It's just there for your own reference and if you want to try them out. Illustrator is not part of the short course, but it is part of the actual degree. So again, accessing the materials, learn.itmasters.edu.au. If you can't log in, email us through, but check for an email first, because you should have been emailed with your username and login, and your username is your email that you signed up with us for. So project 2 is logos, and I know you guys don't actually need to create a logo, but the idea of going through this project is, again, to continue learning Photoshop. Until you guys get a little bit more comfortable in Photoshop, it's not really teaching you how to use it in the classroom so much as teaching you how to use it. And once you can use Photoshop a bit more comfortably, the classroom elements come into it, which is next week and the week after that is more relevant to using the classrooms. So keep going. And people are putting questions into the question box. Happily type them in and I will get to them during the webinar, hopefully. So there's some basic project objectives and project management skills that you're learning throughout all these projects. And the design skills are more relevant than to you guys that you'll find. But yeah, so I'll be covering some of the clear design skills during the first part of this webinar, and then showing you some skills into Photoshop, including some of the ones that you guys are asking in your questions here. If you can't make it to the webinars and you have a question about how to do something in Photoshop, post it on the forums. Either somebody will answer it, like Jaden has just said, was having some problems with homework and questions have already been answered though. So even if I don't answer it if I don't get around to it in the webinar, or if the webinar is too far away, a lot of people will answer for you. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to put them on the forums and people can have a look at them. So the Photoshop skills that we were covering, we're going to cover those in Photoshop in just a few moments after I've covered some of the design elements. Maris, your questions in the question box are getting through. And somebody has again asked, she had no sound in the first webinar, so can she still access the webinar number 1 and complete it and do the homework? Absolutely, Louise. All you have to do is log into learn.itmasters.edu.au and you can access the first webinar and log in and complete it so you can do the homework. So basic color theory, just quickly, Cmyk versus RGB. Cmyk covers what is, oops, sorry about that. Cmyk stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and key. Key stands for black. And RGB is red, green, blue. The main difference between these two types of color is how they approach black and white. RGB is, and I'm just going to get my little drawing tool here. RGB, this one here, is additive, and white is the combination of all the different colors. So what that means is it comes from the theory that it starts off as black and you add colors, and when you combine them all together it creates white. And over here you've got Cmyk, which starts off as a white is the natural color of the paper, while black is the result of the combination of all the different colors. So the reason I'm telling you this is because Photoshop is usually used to edit print documents. Print documents are more, they lend themselves to Cmyk because they start on a white piece of paper when you print them. Computer documents, web documents, or web color is RGB because the screen starts as black until you add color to it. Somebody's asked, is it correct that I cannot see the questions asked by other entrants? It is. I try and read out the questions as I answer them. Okay, moving back. Two of the relevant color theories that you might need to know, and I'm going to have trouble pronouncing this first one, analogous. These schemes use colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. So you've got here the basic color wheel, and I'm going to get my little pen out. So if you use, say, these 4 colors, that follows that first color theory. But if, oops, I don't know why it did that. Anyway, but complementary colors use colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel. So for instance, this blue here and this orange here would be complementary colors. And you'd most likely see complementary color, a complementary color like that on, say for instance, movie posters. Action movie posters often have that blue-orange combination, which you're going to see a lot now that I've pointed it out, because they work quite well together. So those are some basic theory things before we get started in just showing you the basic steps in Photoshop. So I'm just going to close that down. Uploaded on the Moodle site, the learn.itmasters site, and I'm going to go to the home page so you guys can all see how I'm getting there if you're having issues. So you can see this is week 1, and I've uploaded some tutorial videos. I've numbered the Adobe Digital Curriculum if you go into it. So you've got the main project if you open it up, or it'll download and then open up. And that references different documents throughout the student guides, and I've numbered them so they're in order. So if you just wanted to download them all and read them all one by one by one, then this is the best order for you to do it in. So if you open up the project, it will tell you how to go through it, the skills that you're going to be learning this week. And as you go scroll down, it will reference you to project documents. See, Photoshop Guide, overview of the Adobe Photoshop CS6 workspace, and that sort of thing. But I've actually made sure they're in order now. And so when people are talking about the homework for next week, somebody has asked, what was the homework for last week? Sorry, I missed the session. You can, number one, you can view the session 2 ways. There's a download option and there's a YouTube recording. YouTube is often easier for people, but if you want to download it and watch it on your computer outside of being attached to the internet, that's easy for you. And if you go to the discussion forums, you can see week 1 tasks. And this is going to take a little while to load because everyone has uploaded some amazing work. So if you scroll down, you can see some of the amazing things that other students have created and uploaded. And you can also see sometimes people post questions and answers, which is really, really useful for all the other students, because if you have the question, probably other people have it too. And here we've got even someone saying, would you mind sharing what tools you use to alter the landscape photo? And somebody's answered that for them. So if you find a really cool tool or something interesting that you want to introduce to other people, let everyone know. And remember that everyone around here is learning, and so they might just be in the same position as you. So I've got a photo open, but I might just open up a new one so we can start with a blank sort of look. And so the Photoshop skills that I thought I would just go through some of the tips and the skills that we were going to be learning this week with projects with the Adobe Digital Curriculum that I referenced before. So the first one is using guides and rulers. And you can see I've got my rulers showing up here, and I will show you how to turn those on. If you click View on Photoshop, and can everyone see clearly or read clearly? Yes, maybe? Yep. So if you click View up here, you can see rulers here is ticked. Control R is the shortcut for that one. So if I turn it off, these rulers down the sides here disappear. Rulers are useful to tell you, and if I zoom in, where's my navigator? View, window, navigator. If I zoom in, you can see up here it tells me the width and the height of it. I've currently got my rulers turned on to percentages, but Edit, Preferences, Units and Rulers lets you change what units your rulers go by. Melody has asked, how do you hear us? Melody, I can't hear you guys. We usually use these webinars with everyone muted unless there's a specific reason not to. It means that we don't have too many people talking in the background, particularly with teachers. I don't know about you guys, but I've found most teachers are really comfortable speaking in front of a crowd, and therefore if you could all speak, it might get a bit busy in here. Yeah, so you can change it, and percent works well if you want to have, say for instance, 5% on each side is blocked off, but you've got inches, centimeters, millimeters, points, and pickers. And so pixels is also particularly handy. So if you turn it there, and that's good for creating documents to be seen on a screen. And so that means that it's 30 pixels here. You can see up here, whoops, up here on this little line up here, that little ruler, so that you know how wide it is and where you're putting your document, your images and your documents. Now, one of the really handy things about using rulers is that you can use them to create guides. So I'm just going to select my move tool up here. And if you click on the ruler and keep your finger down and drag down, you can use a guide. And so that creates that little blue line there. That blue line won't show up if you print your document. And you can do it on the lengthways one here, the vertical ones as well. It's mostly just to create a guide so that you know, for instance, something's on the top or where something is lined up, or you can measure it against the rulers up the top here so that everything can be neat and orderly and against each other. So guides are really, really powerful, and you can delete them by dragging them off the screen and create again by dragging them down. Or under View, you can click Clear Guides. You can also say View New Guide, and it will say you can put it as a horizontal guide or a vertical guide and put it in the exact position you want it in. Guides can be really, really useful for organizing your work and working out where everything's lying. So someone has asked, so can you slide these rulers multiple times in the same sheet, and so you can have multiple guides at the same time too? Absolutely. You can slide as many as you can fit on your page, and I can keep zooming in and slide 1,000,000 of them down, just as you need them, as is necessary. I might clear these guides and slide a few down. Now you can see here on my layers, and if you watch my little video about layers, it kind of explains where they are. And somebody asked earlier, Linda asked earlier, I'm just going to, Louise asked earlier about, can you tell us how to put 2 different pictures into the layers, one on top of each other? I can duplicate the same one, but can't work out how to put them on the same. Okay, so for instance, this picture here that we're going to show you again later, I'm going to open up a new document, and I just said Control-A, Control-C, so it copies the picture, and I'm going to copy it here, and automatically puts it in a new layer for me. But you've got the new layer there. So for instance, if I was to just copy, start here, paste in place, so it creates a new layer. But if you wanted those to be the same layer so that they're exactly the same picture, you can select both. So I select one document, press Shift, one layer, press Shift, or press Alt, right click and say Merge Layers, and it merges the 2 layers together so they're the same layer. Also remember, with layers you can create a folder for them, so you can put both. So I will go through that slower. I've got my 2 layers over here. I'm just going to scroll down so that I can see. And if I wanted to create a layer folder, that's the button down here, the little folder button, and it's called Group 1. I'm going to put it up the top. And I'm going to click on layer 2 and drag it drag it over group 1 until that little line appears down the bottom, and then it's part of that group. And the same here. And you can see it keeps that layer order thing, which means that because I dragged the layer 1 on top of it, it made layer 2 disappear, but I can put it on top there, which means that if I select group 1, it moves both layers. Oops. Sorry, that picture has moved. So if I select group 1, it moves both layers, but if I select layer 2, it just moves layer 2. Back to this picture. Julie's asked, is there a quick way to put on a guide grid? You can actually show grid. And again, that same place I was showing you before, preferences, guides, grids, and rulers. And that means you can change what color the guides come in. So if that cyan color is the wrong color for your image and you can't see it, you can change it to something better. And you can change how often you have your grid lines. So grid lines every 2 centimeters, or you can use %, or you can use pixels. And therefore you have a nice, neat grid there for you to use. Teresa's asked, sorry, I don't understand why you need layers. Layers are important so that you can continue to move around and change all the elements of your picture. For instance, you might think you need that part of that layer there sitting here now, but later on you might decide you need the information that's underneath it. And if you were to merge these 2 layers together, you would forever lose what's under layer 2. So I use the analogy, think of them like pieces of paper. Merging the layers is like gluing that top piece of paper down on the first image. And if you if you glued that down, you'd lose what's underneath it. John's asked, what keyboard shortcut do you use to move a layer? I select the Move tool, which you can select if you click on a tool, or sorry, if you hover over a tool, it comes up with its in brackets eventually. Come on, you can do it. In brackets, it comes up with the letter you use to select it. So if you just click that letter, it lets you select that Move tool. And you can right-click on any part of the picture that you want to move. So for instance, I can see this layer here that I want to move, layer 2. If I right-click on it, it gives me the options of all the layers underneath my cursor button at the moment. And I select the layer I want to move, and it actually selects it down here on the Layers tool. Sorry, Maris, you've said auto select. I'm not quite sure what you're asking. So yes, while Maris is typing that one in, to continue, layers, like pieces of paper, if you glued that top one on there, you would lose all the information that's hidden behind there, and you might need it later. Yep. Okay, Louise has asked, how do you resize that top copied layer, i.e. make the lady's face smaller? So you can do that by edit, transform, and you can choose scale, rotate, skew, distort. Or if you have this Move tool selected, you can click Control-T, and that gives you these little boxes here that you can resize the shape. And remember I said last week, if you keep your finger down on Shift, it constrains the proportions so that her shape is the same. And if you use Control-T, you can also, if you hover above the that little square up here, I'm going to zoom in just a little, not that it'll help all that much. There's my navigator. But in the corner here, if you hover above, it turns into a kind of curved arrow with 2 points at the end, which means you can skew the image. If you press, and so if you want to keep that, you have to press Enter, and that keeps the changes you made. You'll notice when I'm going to change it back so the free transform is no longer doing. So if I click Control-T again, and I've still got that layer 2 selected, and I try and click something, it says apply the transformation. So you have to agree to apply that transformation. It's not done until you've done that. Okay, so just making sure that I'm not missing anything important. Rosalind, I'm trying to, Rosalind has asked, has this got anything to do with making a logo? And I see what you're coming from there. But to continue to make a logo, to finish making a logo, what you're going to need to do is to be able to basically move around the Adobe workspace comfortably. Hopefully that means everyone's got a handle over layers, but if you don't, continue to ask questions on the forums and discussions, and I can put up some videos explaining in more detail. Mitchell's asked, I was wondering what the full name of the master's course that this short course is part of, and it's called the Masters of ICT in Education. It's from CSU, and I'll post some links to it. So the next part of the Photoshop skills, moving along so that we don't get here all night, is understanding vectors and bitmap graphics. And I explained this a little bit last week. Remember, vector graphics are the mathematical formula that creates lines. So for instance, using my pen tool with the paths. And I've uploaded a video showing, I'm just going to turn off the grid. I've uploaded a video showing paths to the short course website, the Learn.IT Masters website. So have a look at that. And a vector graphic, if you look at the PowerPoint that's been uploaded, will actually just explain to you that it's made up of lines and mathematical formulas. And bitmap graphics are made up of tiny little boxes of color that all put together. For instance, here, if I zoom in really close, you can see those mathematical formulas that make up, sorry, not mathematical formulas, those tiny little colored boxes that make up an image. So look to last week's webinar if you need more understanding of that. I showed an example of a vector graphic, or there is actually a document on the short course site that demonstrates bitmap vector images. So the next skill on the Photoshop skills list is using swatches. And you can see the swatches up here. These is how you select your colors. And again, there's the background and foreground colors. And sometimes these can be useful, just keeping in mind, even if you're not using your background color ever, if you use this little arrow here, it swaps the colors for you, so that you can keep one on the back burner. So moving back to this one, sorry. And you'd use the swatch tools with the paint tool, the brush tools and the paint tools. So remember I spoke last week about the brush tool, and you can choose your brush. So you can either do that one, a sort of basic brush. I'm right-clicking, by the way, to get to these tools. And I did a little bit on it last week, but again, you can choose crazy brushes. And that just pretends that you are painting with an actual tool. I'm going to open it up again. I'm going to crop this so it's a more manageable size document. If you want to zoom out on your keyboard, by the way, you can just press Control and minus, and keep your finger on Control and minus, so you can zoom, and you can zoom in with Control plus. So the next one was drawing lines and drawing shapes. And I think I covered this a little in the tutorial videos, but you can see here is the shape drawing tool, and there are options: rectangle tools, rounded rectangle tools, ellipse tool, polygon tool, line tools, and custom shape tools. So lines are easy. It draws a line, and if you keep your finger on shift, so it can draw a line on an angle, or if you keep your finger on shift, it draws a straight line. The options up here is whether it can draw a shape, a path, or a pixel. Pixels just draw like the paint tool, just draws a picture that's not a new layer, it's not a new anything, it's just a pixel. But if you chose, for instance, shape, it would draw a shape for you that would create a shape in layers. And that means that you can change the color of that shape anytime you want, just by clicking up here. And you can add a stroke to the outside of it. I'm going to turn down the size of that stroke so that it actually shows up. And so you change the color of the stroke by, and the stroke means the outside line around your shape. And you change the width of it, and you can change whether it's a dotted line here. The other options, so a rectangle tool will just allow you to draw a square or rectangle. And again, like I showed you last week, if you keep your finger on shift, it will be a perfect square. So Alice has asked, is the stroke a vector? It is. It's a shape. And if you watch that paths video I uploaded last week into the Moodle site, you can show you how to edit paths with the direct selection tool. Oops. I just want to select this guy, and you can move the shapes and change how they work. So, and that's another difference between, if you were drawing a shape or as pixels. You can't do that with pixels. Somebody has asked where's the Moodle site. It is on learn.itmasters.edu.au. And so you'll notice, so there's the rounded rectangle tool, and you'll notice all these shapes that I'm drawing end up, I'm just going to delete these shapes, end up being the same colors as the ones I had previously, but now it's going to go back to normal because I've deleted that shape and created a new layer. So the rounded rectangle tool, oops, if you just click, it'll just automatically draw with the, if I select that tool and just click on the thing, it will ask you what shape to make what size to make your shape. And so that's automatically created a 100 by 100 square with rounded edges. And again, that's editable like I showed you in that video. The custom shape tool is actually quite fun to use. If you select that, and remember you can select these options by clicking, holding your mouse down and selecting that option, you get to choose what shape you're drawing. And I don't know if you guys can see it very clearly, but there's a whole option of shapes to choose from, quite a lot of them. And if you select here, you can select what shapes you want loaded. So if you click all, it'll make sure all the shapes, shapes that Adobe Photoshop have loaded into them are there for you to draw. These shapes are available in CS5 and CS4 and earlier, and whatever. They've been around for a while. There might be a few new ones in the latest version of Photoshop, but custom shapes have been around for a while and there's a lot of them, even in the older versions of Photoshop. The toolbar with the shapes, this options toolbar, should be up above your document here. A lot of people just don't see it because they don't click up this little guy up here. And if you don't see it, you could probably reset your workspace to say Essentials and it'll show you, it'll be up there. So if I click Custom Shapes and click this bird one, I can either draw a weird squishy bird, or I can keep my finger on shift and it'll constrain the proportions. It'll make it just go up and down in size while keeping the width and length proportional to each other. So again, that is a shape that you can edit if you select shape on this options toolbar. The shape tool unfortunately isn't available in CS4, I think, for those of you using the earlier versions. So yeah, you can, and yeah, like I said, you can modify these shapes, selecting that guy. Whoops. I just want to select one of you guys. It'll let me. It's going to do that thing where it's not letting me. Okay, Alice has asked, it's a really good question, while the shape looks like a vector, why is it still pixelated? It's still pixelated because the image I've created is small. So when I created a new image, file new, I only did 400 by 600 pixels. So let's put it international paper. So if I go presets, international paper, that allows me to create a document in a size that is a normal sort of preset. A4 is a size we all know. So if I then use my custom shape and I draw the bird that we had previously, I'm going to zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, and it's no longer pixels. And Susanna said, aren't the point of vector images, though, that they don't pixelate regardless of the size you change them to? Absolutely. This image here, whoops, wouldn't pixelate if it wasn't for the fact that it's drawn in Photoshop, which means that this document is made up of only pixels. So if I wanted to, if I made, say, for instance, if I went image size, and I decided to make this image 20 centimeters high, oops, I've done the wrong setting, sorry. Image size. So 300 pixels per inch. So it's a much higher resolution. I'm going to have to show my navigator so I know where I'm looking at. You can see it's got much less squares around it. So Suzanne has asked, if drawn in Illustrator, would it be a better quality? It seems like the answer would be yes, except for the fact that the only reason it was poor quality was because of the fact that I made the image, the document so small. So you see, once I then make the image larger, you can see it's lost some of the pixelation. And if I wanted to make it even bigger, because you can see if I zoom into 500%, it's showing me the pixels of the image. If I wanted to make the image even larger, and it's going to take a while, because unfortunately this is going to be a big image and it's going to take a lot of processing power. So that's roughly the size it was before. You can see it's lost all that pixelation. What I'm going to do to show you what I was talking about, this is the image size it was previously when it's all pixeled. If I go Edit Preferences, Grids, Guides and Slices, I'm going to turn on my grid onto every 1 pixel and View, Show, Grid. So that's demonstrating that this image is this many pixels wide. Not sure how many pixels that is. Whereas this image that I've created here is show grid. Oops. This many pixels wide. So the reason that this image was pixelated is entirely because the image was smaller. As I made it larger, it added more pixels because it's using vector image. So the mathematical formula is there to say that the image should be, that curve there should be whatever equation equates to that curve. But the image itself is still made up of pixels. Juliana has said, when I draw a shape, it comes with a border around it. How do you change that border? If by border, and I'm going to turn off this grid because it looks annoying. If by border you mean that black or that grey line, that border won't show up when you print your document. If it's an actual border around it, it might be referring to the stroke. And to take away that, you select this tool here. So if I chose a stroke, and it's crazy and intense, but if I wanted to get rid of that, I would choose this little square here that has a red line through it, and that means no color. So Melody has said, I can't find the Shape Images tab, please help. Melody, if I could get you to take a screenshot of your Photoshop and send it to me, I might be able to help. Okay, moving on. Adding text to images. I don't know if you've found this yet, but I'm going to select a different color here, and you can see the text tool here. It's as simple as typing here. And you can change the text tool. Sorry, you can change the text. I might actually select my larger image. You can change it up here. I realize what I've done. Something's gone wrong with my Photoshop. Anyway, back here then, we will go. Yeah, so you can change your text up here on the typing board, or you can go Window, Paragraph, and you can change the font, the size, and various other elements of it. For those of you who are feeling a little bit confused, what I might do is post up some smaller videos like I've done in the first week. If you've looked through that, so Photoshop week 1, and the tutorial videos will have each week. So I'll have one for using guides and rulers, understanding vectors and bitmap graphics. And any little questions that you have, if that helps, for those of you who are a little bit confused. Does that help for anyone who's feeling a little confused? Yeah, sorry about that. I've been trying to answer the questions as they come through, but obviously that becomes really confusing. So what I might do is, we've got that list of Photoshop skills that we were meant to be discussing this week. Where are we? So I'm going to create a different video for each one. They won't be up till tomorrow, unfortunately, because I don't have that much time, but it might be easier than people asking me questions. Okie dokie. Moving on just quickly before tonight becomes a bit much. We can go File. So one of the other options was outputting for web, and that is File, Save for Web. And I think I showed you this last week. You can choose the different formats you use. JPEG is a good format for posting pictures to the web. And you can turn the quality down to something that's smaller in size, and you can see the size here. And then you can change the image size. Sorry, Ahmed, I might answer that question in a video later. So, next up, and there's using selection tools was another one that was listed into this list of Photoshop skills. So the selection tools are all over here, and I think I introduced them to you pretty well last week, but I can look at that in greater detail right now if you want. So we've got the square selection tool, selects in a square. And the tools underneath it, did we go over these last week? The lasso tool, the magnetic lasso tool. Yep, it's all in my podcast. I just wanted to make sure that I'm covering most of the main things in the Photoshop skills. So what I might do for next week, seeing as people are getting a little bit confused by the webinars if I just rush through everything and answer everyone's questions, is try and have the pre-recorded videos pre-recorded and up online, and you guys can watch through it, and I'll go through in something in much more detail next week. So I should have a little video on each of the Photoshop skills uploaded to the Moodle tomorrow, and hopefully everyone will be able to follow along at their own pace. Yep, so that's what I wanted to cover now. Design a really basic logo for your homework task for this week. When I say homework, I mean it's not entirely necessary for you to do it. If you wanted to just submit to just sit the test at the end, I'm happy for that to happen. But if you go through and complete the homework, as we'll call it, week to week, you will have passed the Photoshop short course. Okie dokie. I might start calling it a night so that I can start recording these videos for you guys. Oh, yep, I'm going to go through how to upload some work to the forums. So I'm going to go to the Photoshop in the Classroom MOOC. And so if you go to learn.itmasters.edu.au and log in, I showed you this last week, but I'll learn.itmasters, and it's not going to ask me to log in because I've already logged in, and click on Photoshop in the Classroom. And then you go to discussion forums. And if we go to week 1 tasks, you can upload to this forum. And for those of you, I'm going to close that so it doesn't load that again. For those of you who've been getting emails, unfortunately, from all the updates from the discussion forum, our IT guy is turning off that system hopefully tonight. But for those of you who want to change their setting currently, you can go into the forum that you don't want to get forums from and click unsubscribe from this forum. And to upload, and I'm just going to turn that back because I'm enjoying the things. So I'm going to open up this one and show you how to upload a picture. So I can click reply. So you type in whatever. Insert or edit image. It's a little green tree here, and I'm just going to Control plus until you can really see it. Zoom in quite far. Click find or upload an image. Choose your file. Upload this file. I'm going to zoom out a little. It's got a preview here, and then you click insert. It's going to ask you for a description. I'm fine without a description, but whatever. You can just drag and drop. We just had people having issues uploading images. Yeah. Drag and drop is completely fine. We've just had other students having a problem uploading images. Min, Min's asked how do you have a record of who's done what work per week, because you've uploaded it to the forums and I can see. Yep. If you want to upload adjust the size of the image being uploaded, you use the tools like I told you previously, and I'm just going to use this one because it's a big image. Before you save your image for the files, you go File, Save for Web, and you go, that's too big, why don't I make it 400? And that automatically makes it smaller, and you can see the size it's going to be here. Mitchell, it's Charles Sturt University, Master of ICT in Education. Jodie's asked, is the homework graded? Because this is just a free short course and your certificate doesn't grant you a full subject's credit at Charles Sturt, it's not actually graded. Someone has asked, can I still upload homework tomorrow for last week? Absolutely. You can upload it until the very last week. So Ruth has said she can't see her post. Does that mean you can't see? Because you can search the forums here, and hopefully you're up here. I can't find you, sorry. You can't see it in your page. It's possible that the post, it's here, week 1 task. So obviously the search is not perfect. So I can see your post. So anyway, it's getting close to 7 o'clock, and I'm going to finish up so that I can record those videos for you, and hopefully by tomorrow everyone can watch those videos and have a clear understanding of what they're doing. Okay, so somebody's quickly asked, how do we view the videos? You can see it here, week 1, Introduction to Photoshop, tutorial videos. Week 2 will have tutorial videos uploaded too. Yep, make a logo. That's what I want you to do. Make a logo for yourself or for your class or for your school or for anybody. Maris, I'm a little bit confused. You've asked, please talk about the direct email. I'm a bit confused about what you're referencing to. Louise has asked, what's the latest version of Adobe Photoshop? It's Photoshop CC, Creative Cloud. It's very, very similar to Photoshop 6, CS6. Okay, Maris, those sending questions direct to your email is actually then posting on the forums, and it's just sending it to your email. All you have to do is, like I showed you before, unsubscribe from this forum in the forum that you're in. Louise has a suggestion about a video that might help. So send through the picture that you want me to do, and I'll see if I can have a look. Maris, can you forward me one of those emails? Because it shouldn't be going through like that. Sorry, Lynn. Have you tested out edit, image mode and made sure that you've got the right color selected? Because I've found that often what happens is, I discard, it doesn't matter what you select on the swatches, it's a grey version here. So if you go RGB color, it may be that. If not, take a screenshot with the print screen button on your keyboard and send it through and we'll have a look. Min, I'll upload the PowerPoint as that I used last week. Okay, I'm going to call it a night. Good luck, everyone, and I will see you all next week.